So is sync licensing just one big scam? Well, unfortunately, there are parts of this business that do feel a little scammy. Let's talk about it in today's video. Welcome to Sync My Music. My name is Jesse, and if you are brand new to sync licensing, or maybe you've heard a little bit about it, there might be parts of it or other companies or other people you've heard talk about it, and your gut's telling you, it kind of seems like a scam, or it feels like I'm not getting the whole truth, or what's the real deal with this business? How does it really work? Because it's kind of mysterious to anybody who is on the outside, who has never been fully exposed to it. So I totally relate to that. I understand that, because when I got started, actually way back in 2008, I was very skeptical. I was excited. I was kind of thinking this would be cool to get my music into TV shows, movies, and commercials, but some of the structures of the deals with the libraries felt a little weird to me. Is it really passive income? Can I really actually see my music get placed in major TV shows, network TV shows, cable shows, all that kind of stuff? Is it really just as simple as creating, music that is useful for these companies to see it get placed there? And couldn't people just steal my music? So there's a lot of these kind of unknowns sort of circling. There were in my brain when I first got started. So you're probably there, or maybe you're kind of there. So what I want to do in this video is I want to be real with you that there are definitely parts of this business that there definitely are scammy parts of this business, and we'll talk about those. But there's also just a part of this business that feels scammy, but that's not necessarily because it is scammy. It's just because it is a really tough business to succeed at. Okay, so I want to just be honest with you, transparent with you about when you were getting started in this industry, especially the first couple of years of getting your tracks out to working with a music library, starting to get some of your first placements, and building your relationships. Essentially, that's what you really need to do early on. It can feel like you're maybe getting taken for a ride, and I want to let you know the difference between what is somebody taking you for a ride and what is just the sort of natural course of getting started in a really, really tough industry that's amazing, and it's fruitful, and it really is all the great things that you've heard about it, but it's not going to come to you quickly, and it's certainly not going to come to you without any effort and without any persistence, okay? So let's talk about some of those scammy things that feel a little bit weird. When you start in this business, the first scammy feeling you're going to get is, hey, where's all my money? I remember it took me about 2.5 years before I saw my first royalty check. And that first royalty check that I got, 14 cents. So talk about feeling like you got scammed. Okay, so you just spent 2.5 years of your life cranking out, I think, at least 200 tracks by that point. Constantly cranking out tracks, constantly working with the libraries. 14 cents. It certainly feels like I got scammed. That's how I felt. I was a little bit excited that I got something. I finally got my first placement, but boy, 14 cents felt like a big punch in the gut. It was not what I was expecting, not what I was hoping for. So you need to be aware that it takes a long time to build up your royalties in this business, okay? And I'm talking 2 to 5 years. That's really the timeline that you need to be preparing yourself for before you start seeing some decent sized checks in your royalties that will be able to start paying off a significant chunk of your bills, maybe all of them, depending on where you live, how expensive your lifestyle is, but it takes years, okay? So the process of getting your track into a TV show and then having that TV show paid out with the royalties is about 9 to 12 months, sometimes 6 to 9 months, but basically you can just anticipate about a year after you get a placement, you will get a check. So you can imagine it's a slow moving business, and it's going to take a long time before you start to see some of those royalties start pouring into your bank account. Now, it's still, I don't want to be, a wet blanket here and making you feel like, oh my God, like what's the point of this business anyways? Because there's such a great potential for passive income in this industry, it takes a long time to get there. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of go to the gym, so to speak. You have to put in your time. You have to lift the heavy weights before you see the gains, before you see the results, before you start to benefit from all this hard work that you're doing. It does not come easy. It does not come overnight. And you can certainly feel first couple of years in this business kind of scammed, especially if you're working with a library that might not be paying consideration fees. If you're not familiar with consideration fees, they're basically a one-time fee they pay per track that they accept from you and then distribute to their partners. Not all libraries do it. Non-exclusive libraries do not do it at all. Exclusive libraries, I'd say about half of them do and half of them don't. And there's no law saying they have to pay you or they don't have to pay you or anything like that. It's a completely Wild West industry. So if you're not even getting some of those consideration fees, which is, it's not tons of money you can live on, but it's something. It's a little bit of, pocket money essentially. especially if you're not getting even any of that money, you're kind of literally working for free for a couple of years in this industry. So that's actually probably the number one reason why most producers bail out very quickly, because it's like, I need to see, and I felt this too, I totally relate to this. I need to see something for what I'm doing here. Yes, I'm getting accepted by a library. Maybe even I'm knowing that they're pitching me to some of their clients, so I feel like I'm in their wheelhouse. But if I'm not seeing money, I'm not seeing actual placements, is this really a good use of my time? So just be aware, that is what is going to be in front of you when you first get started in this industry, okay? Now, number two, I think definitely one of the more legitimately scammy things that you'll see in this industry are middleman shopping companies. I call these sometimes cattle call companies. Now, scamming in terms of, we got to be very careful here. So I don't mean scamming in terms of some of these companies are going to, charge you, take your music, and then literally sit on them and do nothing. I mean, I'm sure some of them do. I've definitely heard of those stories. But the bigger companies, I won't name them. You probably have come across them where they're promising you, hey, you pay us your membership fees and we will basically send you licensing opportunities, or we will shop your music for you, or whatever they're promising to do. Let's just go with the ones that are legitimately doing that. They're literally taking your music and at least putting it out there for their clients, or they're at least actually sending you legitimate licensing opportunities. Even those ones that are doing it legitimately, you got to remember what you're a part of. You are a part of a sort of cattle call company, right? What they're doing is they're ringing a big, big loud bell that's going out to tens of thousands of producers, hundreds of thousands of producers. Some of the big companies have hundreds of thousands of people like you that are also getting the same emails, the same blasts, the same opportunities, and getting everybody hyped up on some huge, hey, they're going to pay you $50,000 for the sync fee, or this is $100,000. And it's getting everybody hyped up, and they're sending their music, and the odds are just not in anybody's favor, right? When you have that many composers, that many producers, and it's kind of like you're all being, hurtled in to essentially this opportunity, chances are, even if you have great music, you're probably just not going to get it, because there's going to be one track that gets onto it and probably 5,000 songs that get submitted to it. I don't like those odds. For my career, for my source of income, I'm not taking 1 out of 5,000. Sorry, not good enough for me. I hope it's not good enough for you either. Those companies for sure leave a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouth, because they feel like, hey, I was in sync licensing, I got into this company, they were sending my music out, and then nothing happened, and so it's all a scam and nothing works out. Those middleman shopping companies are not sync licensing, okay? They are definitely, I don't know, they're a part of it in some way. But really what sync licensing is you, the composer, the producer, a music library who you can directly partner with. And that's what I keep telling you guys to do over and over again. Do not go to these middleman companies. You don't need them. You don't need to pay for them. Go right to them. Go right to a library, create a direct partnership, a direct relationship with them. And then the clients, the TV, the film, the video game, the radio clients, whoever is actually using the music. There's 3 entities involved in sync licensing. I guess you could say the PROs who pay you your royalties, ASCAP, BMI. Really, it's those 4. These middleman shopping companies are not a part of sync licensing. They're kind of inserting themselves in between you and a library. And my opinion is they don't need to be there, and you don't need to work with them. You can go right around them, go directly to a music library, so you don't have that feeling of like being scammed a little bit, or feeling like, I didn't get close enough to these people that I really need to get to. These people are not hard to find. They're not hard to access. They're not hard to email, actually. Getting directly involved with a music library is one of the easier parts of getting started in sync licensing. It might seem like really hard for you right now, but I have hundreds of students of mine. And in fact, I had 2 just this morning tell me they just got accepted to a library that I recommended in SyncEdge. So it's happening all the time. It's actually not that hard to do, and you can absolutely do it. All right, and the third part of this business that does sometimes feel scammy and kind of not a good feeling is that the PROs, that's BMI and ASCAP, those are the ones that are going to be paying you your performance royalties when you get a placement on TV. They're not open source. Okay, so meaning that they have an algorithm, they have basically a calculation or a formula for how they determine what your royalties are going to be. However, you and I don't get to see that. So when I get my royalties, I'll see, a certain, let's say like a primetime show got me a pretty decent placement. I can see how many times it aired. I can see how long the placement was. I can see the type of placement. Was it in the foreground? Was it the background? Was it jingle? Was it featured? There's all these different ways that you can learn about it, or that you can get placements rather. But I don't know how they're calculating why did I earn $400 for that one, but the next placement, which is a pretty big show, I'm earning $35. there might be some differences in the ratings, in how many times it's placed, and all that kind of stuff. And they have a for sure formula on how they determine who gets paid how much, but we don't get to see that. So there is a part of every time you're going to get a royalty check in this industry that if it's a really big check, you're going to be excited, but you're not going to be able to verify it, right? You're not going to be able to go look under the hood and say, well, you're saying that I earned this much from this. Is that exactly what I should have earned? And what is your formula for how you got there? And because I have like a million questions. Like every single royalty check I get, it's like, why did I earn so much for this one? But this one, which I think should have been a really big placement for me, got nothing, right? So there's a lot of questions. And unfortunately, right now with the state of the industry, you just don't get to see the other side of that. We don't get to be transparent, and they are not being transparent with us on that, okay? I do feel in the future there will be new ways to earn royalties, including like blockchain technology, where things will be much more instantaneous, by the way. You won't have to wait probably 6 to 9 months to get your royalties, and you'll be able to see immediately why and how you got paid what you got paid. So I do believe we're on the verge of going into a more of a kind of a golden age of earning royalties as musicians. But for right now, the PROs are who we're stuck with. Now, I don't want this to come across as bitching or nagging at them. I'm really grateful. Like, I'm with BMI, and I recommend you guys go with BMI if you want to do sync licensing. I'm so happy that they exist. I'm so happy that they are out there banging on the doors of all these, networks and cable companies and saying, hey, start paying our publishers and writers, because I don't have the resources to do that. I can't make these kind of calls and go, force them to do that kind of thing. So I'm so glad that they're kind of my little mafia partner that's going out there and gathering income for me. So I'm very, very grateful. And I think you will be too when you get your first royalties and you start to see that money come in. But that's just the state of the game right now. So with these three sort of not so fortunate parts of the industry, what's the way to work around them? Well, my point of view is just get educated and get the understanding of what it's really going to take to succeed in this business, okay? There are a lot of people that are hyping you up on their services or their courses or their products or whatever it is, or just trying to teach you about it. But a lot of times they are saying, oh my gosh, you can make 6 figures on a sync fee, millions of dollars here, you can do this, you can do that. And there are amazing opportunities. Like I said, there are some great, incredible sources of income in this industry. But that's just one part of it, okay? To get all these great, amazing things comes tons of work, tons of patience, tons of persistence, and a lot of time, okay? So you need to, as you're getting started in this industry, get educated on how long it's going to take, what kind of work it's going to take, what your mindset needs to be. Like, you really do need to get into the proper service-oriented mindset to ensure that you're not going to be getting in your own way and self-sabotaging. I've seen that happen with so many producers, so many licensing producers that want to blow up in this industry, but they just weren't prepared mentally for the right type of mindset. So if you want to learn about that, at least you want to see what my plan has been, like how I got to where I got to, where I was making full-time income with my music through sync licensing. I share with you my mindset. I share with you the 5 biggest mistakes you want to avoid that usually burns out all the producers that I see, or most of them. You can join a free course right now, actually in the description box of this video. And to be transparent, there are premium services that I do offer at the end of that course. However, totally optional. You don't have to if you don't feel they're going to be useful for you. I have a lot of customers and students that find them extremely helpful for getting their first couple of contracts, making sure their music is on par with the standards out there, and to ensure they're not going to be spending those first couple of years sort of spinning in circles and not really knowing what they're doing and not going in the right direction. So I can certainly cut off a lot of I can shorten your timeline quite a bit by just giving you a lot of wisdom, 14 years now, of what I know really, really works in this business and what I know for sure doesn't work in this business. So you can basically get those insights. But don't sign up for those if they don't feel useful for you. But for sure, go to that free 5-part course, because that's going to actually help you understand if this is something you want to give a serious go at. And it'll help you understand why it's not a scam. It's not something that is going to take you for a ride if you are smart about it. But you do need to learn from people that have come before you and have gone through the ringer, been in the trenches, been screwed over many times, been rejected many times, been passed over many times, and I can help you understand how to avoid the feeling of burnout or feeling like you've been scammed. I will definitely walk you through all of those in that free course, so I encourage you to join me for that. Aside from that, I encourage you also to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe. I put out helpful videos, hopefully helpful videos like this every single week on this channel, and I would love to have you as a part of our channel family here with Sync My Music.